What is up, Chicky Lala and all my man friends? My name is Coda, and this is Coda Critiques. I am here because I'm doing my very first book haul today. So the vast majority of the books that I have today are individual authors, so authors who chose not to go through a publishing company, but publish on their own so that they don't have to worry about losing the rights to their stories. I think there's still a really big stereotype towards people who decide to edit on their own, publish on their own, design covers on their own. There's something to be said for people who want to own their stories 100%. There are a couple that are published normally, but I just couldn't find them in the stores to save my life. So let's get started. This is going to be the stack that we are going through today. I am super excited. There's actually more stories than it looks like here, mostly because one of them is an omnibus. First book we're going to talk about, Guild by Raven Kennedy. It is part of a trilogy, which is a retelling of the King Midas story. So King Midas is a king who essentially wants more and more gold, more wealth. So he wishes for the golden touch, which does exactly what it sounds like. You touch something, it turns to gold. This is going to be an 18+ story. There is spice, there is full-on sex scenes. You are not going to fade to black. Please be aware of that when you go to read it. We are following a girl named Arin, which is a woman that King Midas has picked up from the slums, pulled out of poverty. She is considered his favored because he has gold touched her, so her entire body is covered in gold at this point. And she lives in a gilded cage. He does have a harem of people that live in a different wing of the palace that are there just for his every sexual need. She is moved from place to place within the palace, always within this gilded cage. And she is utterly infatuated with this man. She's been picked up out of poverty. She thinks that he absolutely loves her, just has these other desires that he wants going on, and she thinks he's just phenomenal. But as war starts to kind of come to the country, he makes this deal with somebody that makes her start to question things and question whether or not she actually knows him to be the man that he is. That's more or less where the plot of the story starts to pick up. Next story, Bridge Kingdom, Daniel Jensen. There are 2 books to it total. It is a duology. From what I understand, the first book leaves off on such a cliffhanger that if you don't already have the second book available, you are going to regret your life. So the Bridge Kingdom, it is going to be a spicy book. You're going to have 1 or 2 sex scenes, nothing crazy. It's not the main plot of the book. It's not a smutty book, but there are sex scenes. Bridge Kingdom follows Laura, who has been trained her entire life to kill the crowned prince. She has also been betrothed to him to conjoin their kingdoms because her kingdom and the surrounding kingdoms are falling into disrepair. However, as she gets to know Arin and she goes into his kingdom and knows his kingdom, she's starting to realize that a lot of those issues are within his kingdom as well, and outer problems, and she's losing faith in what she's supposed to do. It's supposed to be kind of an enemies to lovers. That's my guilty pleasures, enemies to lovers, and there's going to be a lot of them that fall into this in this one, okay? A lot of the books that I got this time around, enemies to lovers. One way or the other. So just be aware of that. But essentially, supposed to marry somebody, supposed to kill the somebody, realizes that that's not going to work in order to make things actually better, trying to figure out life. Book 3. Deal with the Elf King by Elisa Kova. If that name sounds familiar to you, it is because Elisa Kova also does the Air Awakens series. This one, Luella, which is the main female character, her village has made a deal with the Elf Kingdom that they will provide a female as a bride to the Elf King in order to keep things kind of going. And she's not been chosen to do this. So she has prepared her entire life working as an herbologist and a healer so that she can help the people within her community continue to live and live better. And then all of a sudden, the Elf King comes down and actually ends up taking her to be his bride. So obviously she's stressed out because this was not what was supposed to happen. And when she gets to this new kingdom, she realizes that it's actually having all of these problems and she's the only one who can help it. But because of the problems that she has with the Elf King himself, who is very standoffish and very distant, she's having this eternal battle of, do I help this new kingdom where I'm the only one who can help them? Or do I find a way to run back to my village and my family and this world that I know that I care for? So it's a very, again, enemies to lovers. It's a very enemies to lovers. Next one, Kiss the Fae by Natalia Jaster. I am super excited for this one, but you know why I'm excited? I am excited because the author explains this book by saying that she absolutely loved the Labyrinth movie when she was growing up and felt that there was a lot of sexual tension that could have been explored and wasn't. And I don't know about you, but I was born in the early 90s and I was and still am obsessed. So Natalia Jaster decided that she was going to make a book where she replaced goblins with fae and decided to make a series based off of this. So the series starts with a girl named Lark who is chased across an enchanted border. A man named Cerulean, who rules this world, tells her that she has 13 days that she has to survive this mountainous maze with all these treacherous, tricksy things going on, or else her younger sister is going to be tortured instead. If she decides to refuse or ends up disobeying, younger sister is going to be tortured. So she decides that she has to do this and then starts to realize along the way, this guy is not playing fair and creating all sorts of tricks and causing problems, but he's also very attractive and this is not going to work out the way that she anticipates it to be. If you haven't watched The Labyrinth before reading this book, I beg you to go watch The Labyrinth before reading this book, because just reading the description of it, even without knowing that the author explained it this way, it screams The Labyrinth. I'm so excited. I really am. I'm so excited. From what I understand, there's a couple books in this series. I believe, don't hold me to this because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they change off the main character in each one. So this should be fairly well wrapped up at the end. Next book we're going to do is called Angelfall. This is a trilogy. It was originally printed in Spanish, I believe. I actually only found out about this book because Fairy Loot recently put out a special edition. So this trilogy follows two people. The main character is named Penryn. Essentially, angels have come down and created this apocalypse, and it is 6 weeks past the time frame that they came down and created this apocalypse, and Penryn's younger sister has been carried off by these warrior angels, and she is fighting and trying to find her younger sister. And on the way to do that, she runs into the main male character named Raffi, who is also a warrior angel. He has done something to piss off the rest of them, essentially, and they have torn his wings off. And when she finds him, he's in the middle of this screwed up situation that she has to save him from. I don't know what it is. I wish I could give you a better description, but I can't. I don't know. Essentially, she saves him from something, and he begrudgingly agrees to go with her to find her younger sister, because in his mind, he's like, okay, you're going to these people to get your sister back, and if I go with you, maybe I can force them to make me whole again. Because he wants his wings back. He wants to go back to being a full warrior angel. They end up working together in this cause for separate items, but to get to the same point. It is a young adult. There are no crazy sex scenes. I think it is a slow burn enemies to lovers, I believe. Next one is a whole lot of fun. This is An omnibus. Omnibus. That's such a fun word. Omnibus. So this giant ass book is actually 3 books and a novella in one for the Bargainer series. And thought it would be better to just get the full series. From what I've heard, you either love it or you do not. And it is much cheaper to get it in a giant print. It is a dark 18 and up book. It is darker. It is an 18 and plus book. You are going to see sexual things. Anyway, Bargainer series. First book, Rhapsodic, essentially starts off with a woman named Calypso. She is a siren. She's got these black beads that come from favors that she's collecting from the Bargainer. And the Bargainer and her have kind of like this spurned relationship, so they're crawling up her arm for the last 7 years. And he's always called in those favors, but he hasn't called in a single one from her. And then all of a sudden he shows up. And the first one that he calls in from Calypso is a kiss. And that takes away a single bead. Now, if that doesn't tell you the basic idea as to where this is going to go, I don't know what to tell you, but just think about it a little bit. If a kiss takes away a bead, what else is he going to ask for? On the more fantasy side of it, they're also starting to realize that there's kind of this war brewing. All of these warriors are being taken away, killed, and never coming back. And the women are coming back in these glass coffins with children clutched to their chest. And the person doing it seems to kind of favor more exotic women. So he plans on using his Siren X as bait to try and figure out what is going on. Next one I want to talk about, We Hunt the Flame. This is a book that's published normally. You can find it in most of your bookstores. I just could not find it for the life of me in any of my bookstores, probably because it's been getting such high recommendations, so it's sold out everywhere. But it is a young adult, enemies to lovers sort of a thing. And I believe it's a duology. Pretty sure it's a duology. So just the 2 books, and both are out right now. 2 main characters. First one is a female named Nasira, who hides by dressing like a man and going out into the cursed wood to hunt, and is known as the Hunter. And people can't know that she's a female because terrible things will happen. And then the main male is named Nasir, is the crown prince and known as the assassin prince, essentially because he kills off everyone who crosses his father. But as the story goes along, Nasir and Zafira both get the same mission, that they have to find this magical object that's meant to restore magic to the land, because this dark entity is coming in to create war. However, Nasir is also told that he is supposed to also kill the hunter who's going after this object, and obviously is unaware who that is or what she is. I believe this one is also a enemies to lovers, slow burn. I've heard great reviews. Very last one, Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman. If that name sounds familiar to you at all, it's because Neil Gaiman wrote Coraline. He also wrote the series Sandman that everyone goes crazy over, but he writes a lot of really dark stuff. He writes a lot of really dark fantasy, twist stories around it. He does phenomenal work, okay? And this one is a really small book because it's an illustrated retelling of Snow White. Please don't judge this by the fact that it's teeny tiny, because it's really an amazing story. I wish they would pick this up for a movie or a series or something, because you could expand on this. It's not even funny. It is so good. So you actually are listening to a narration by the evil queen, or the stepmother. And the stepmother comes into play because Snow White's mother dies during labor, and the stepmom falls in love with the king. The illustrations in this are just gorgeous. I mean, if you look at some of the photos in here, they put a lot of effort into, but the stepmother falls in love with the king, and is trying really hard to be involved with Snow White, even though she creeps her out a little bit because she's super pale, she has jet black eyes, and she has these crazy blood red lips, right? And then Snow White wanders into her room one night, and she's trying really hard to be there for her. Hi, how are you doing? And Snow White tells her, oh, I'm hungry. And stepmom goes, oh, okay, well, it's winter, that makes sense. Why don't I give you an apple? Because I have a couple saved in my room for like the winter time frame, because we don't get fruit in the winter. So she gives her an apple. Snow White takes a bite, acts like she's all excited. And then stepmom goes to like touch her face and her cheek, and Snow White bites her hand and starts drinking her blood because she's a damn vampire. Okay? And not like the romanticized versions. Like, I get the romanticized versions. I loved Buffy. I loved From Blood and Ash. I'm all about plenty of those, but she's not a good one. She's a bad one. She's the whole reason her mom died, because she sucked her dry as she was giving birth to her. So she kicks her back out, and all of a sudden, her father starts becoming thinner and emaciated and has all sorts of issues. And the stepmom is trying to figure out what to do. It's a wonderful screwed up version of Snow White. If you want a video on that, let me know. I could go through the whole book. I absolutely love it. Let me know if that's something that you would be interested in. But yeah, that is the entirety of the books that I got this last little shopping trip around. I'm so excited to get started. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends.